All right, where are we? We're in the Korean Classic tournament. So, tournament starts tomorrow, and let's take a look at the holes. Let's take a look at them. I haven't. I know some of these holes. These ones are from. Where are these from? Hey, hold on. Got to get it so that it'll work with all my apps. This particular course we've only played 3 times. Yongsan Gardens, and so I'm going to try and remember how to play these holes. I'll do a walkthrough, and then I'll practice tomorrow in Monday's qualifying round. I will try and get up early and practice. My wife's having some surgery tomorrow, so I'll try and get up early before we go. All right, let's see. Hole number one. Hole number one, this par 4. Okay, this is a prime example of it all depends on what clubs you have and what your ball inventory is, because obviously on a hole like this, we want to try and get up here, either on or up here right off so that we have a short chip. The last time we played this, Dunner and I were flirting with the deal of, we brought out a topspin boost ball and was trying to hit from the island over to this rough pad and come in. I've seen a couple people in Pro where they come at it, and instead of trying to negotiate this curve here, like it's hard to get to the cup if you're on the left hand side, but the whole goal, you got to remember, the whole goal on a hole like this is eagle. Okay, if you really wanted to go for hole in one, you could. There is a possible rough bump scenario here, second, third bounce rough bump scenario. It's possible, but it's pretty iffy. I really think your best bet is to get right up here on the fringe and be right off so that you have a short chip come on. But in Pro, I've seen some people where instead of trying to navigate this tunnel, they've actually tried to hit it over, where they hit one bounce and then they're trying to come over here. Most of what I've seen is people doing a rough bump off of this and then bleeding it out. It does put them, as far as arc wise, if you're over here on the fringe, it's not too far out. It's the same kind of chip. But if you can get through this rough, so you can put a lot of topspin on it, and instead of trying to adjust for where you're doing here, you could try and get if you got enough topspin on there, any bump in that rough is going to throw you out and then bleed you out into this area. It is possible. But I think I'm going to just look for this area right here. The whole deal is that this is not a shot that you want to take with overpower. You want to bring out a big enough ball, and it's so dependent on what clubs you have in your bag and what your ball inventory is, but you want to bring out a big enough club so that you can actually pull back a little bit from the red line. So I'm just going to pick a number out of the air. So let's say it's at plus 16 is the max, and you pull it back to plus 6. That gives you that's probably about 4, maybe 5 rings of separation on the red line and the front red line. And so trying to be more in the center of this, or even if you're having to split it and you're down on this side right here where you're splitting this and you're down in this area, if you can have your center right there so that you could pull forward to work out any headwind, you could pull back, because we don't want to have to pull back beyond this, because this is one of those things like this, and you really can't pull back, because when it actually gets to the point where it's pulling back, you've gone 1 ring, 2 ring, 3 ring, you've gone like 3 or 4 rings past it, and you'll get all jacked up. You want to be able to keep it so that you can stay on this pad when you're doing your rough bump, and that way you don't have to do any overpower. If we come out here and you bring out the minimum ball that's required, and on days when there's headwind, you really have to do overpower. And on days when there's tailwind, you may have to do a little, or you've got to use the wind. So every single day it's going to be a variable. Trying to bring out a big enough ball. And unfortunately, whether you like to admit it or not, Playdemic is a ball manufacturer. So bringing out a big enough ball so that you can set it up. And it may be one of those things where you could bring out a power 3 ball, but like bringing out a power 5 ball works, because consistency wise you can pull back from the red line, or a power 4 ball, and that way you can make the shot so that every day, no matter what the wind is, it's the same thing, and you can get into the same spot every day, because we really need to get, if you don't get an eagle on this, even though minimum score on a par 4 is birdie, on that particular hole, if you don't get an eagle, you basically have dropped the shot on the top 40 or 50% of the bracket. And you can't afford to do that. It's just the way it works. This hole right here, and they've changed some of these par 3s on it is. So from the tee box, let's see if we can scroll back here. From the tee box down into this area, it's a short iron. And it is like, here's the tee box, and this picture doesn't represent, it is way in the hell down here to this spot. Like when you go to make your adjustment, it's like you're looking through a freaking little microscope, and it's like, here's your rings. I mean, you can't, that's about how big you can get them. You can't get them any bigger than that. They were just way the hell down there. It's hard to make a really great adjustment just because it's hard to get down in there. From my recollection, it's a very minor adjustment. I like to do bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then roll to the cup. And you can see this hill right here. I'll circle it and keep that spot in mind as I zoom it in. You can see where the shadow is right here. You can get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then try and run it straight to the cup. But I've made a ton of hole-in-ones on this hole, and I haven't made them going straight at the cup because it always seems like it wants to break off at the very end. It wants to break to the left. But there is a hill right here, and it almost funnels down to the cup where you can hit. Usually it's where you can hit a great on one side and a perfect and it'll go in. If you hit a great on the other side, it'll miss it. But I have made a ton of hole-in-ones here by following that hill down. So starting off, getting bounce number 1, bounce number 2, but making sure that I'm following that hill down to the hole. And this is definitely, let me say that. This is all capital letters. Definitely a hole that you do not want to overshoot this cup. You do not want to be on the backside of this green. It could be that you can't even make the putt. This is an older hole, and it is super dangerous if you're back here, if you actually blow by it. And it doesn't take a lot of movement on this to get it to come up there. So if you're having to put a hole, there is a rough bump that you can do, but this is one of those rough bumps where, like we talked earlier, here's the tee box, here's where your landing zone is. Now let me draw that so it looks better. Here's where your landing zone is, and then you're coming up through the sand, and then it comes up pretty steep. So this rough is right here on this really steep area, and it's tricky. The other thing is too, is what I've noticed in this game is if your first bounce is on this side of the sand, the adjustment that you'd have to make as opposed to being on this side is different. And I've seen this right here, even though it looks like it's pretty straightforward, eat people's lunch, and you might be able to come over here and side spin it around so that you got a little bit more rough to deal with. But this shot right here is really a money shot. And it, like I said, it takes very little spin, but try and use that hill on the right hand side and bleed it down to the cup, and do not be long. Come out on this hole on a practice session and hit it long and see what the putt is, so you will know how serious it is not to be long here. You do not want to be long on that hole, but that's a great opportunity for hole-in-one right there. Great opportunity. Not sure what the adjustment is yet, but it seems like I was doing a max club, and it really wasn't that big of an adjustment, but they've changed on some of these holes how they're responding. So like hey, why is it not getting, why is there a 2 shots on that? Why is Tommy giving it's a par 3 and elevation on shot number 1, 10% on shot number 2, 20? I think in the past I've always done like a 10% on that, but it's a very small adjustment even though you're way the hell downhill. But they've changed some of that stuff, so we'll have to see. And based off of the last 9-hole cup that we did, when they moved the holes, those holes there, we did not do 60% adjustments on them. And so I'll be curious to see how much if they've changed how the hole hits. Hole number 3, the first par 5. All right. These seems like there's several par 5s in this Yongtsing that we're doing kind of the same thing. I think we're just hitting out into like this area and then coming at it. I don't think there was any shot of like getting onto this and going for it. I think it was either getting onto doing a rough bump and getting out into this area, or trying to get out into the wide open. if I remember correctly. It seems like we could get, and this is the thing about, we've got these topspin boost balls, but it seems like, let me play this hole. Let's play this hole once. I'll practice this hole because I really can't. There's several holes in this particular course that these par fives that are, they can blend together. They're pretty much exactly the same. Let's play this one. We'll play this one because I can't remember how to play it. We'll take a Titan out. Let me do my club card trading since we flipped over to a new day. See if I get anything good today. Get one of the cards I'm looking for. It'll take forever in a day. I'll never get that off-roader to level 8. Maybe. I used it for a bit at level 7, but for some reason at level, at level 7, it's, as far as matching up, a little bit less in distance, not quite as accurate. Top spin's a little better, back spin's a little better, curl's not as good, ball guide's the same. It's kind of, you could choose, but I actually have played with my Nirvana so much that I like the fact that it's 100% accurate. And the off-roader, the numbers change, and so I tried it for a bit, but I know you get more top spin, but you get less power, and so I think the Nirvana is still just as good. It could go either way, but I'm used to hitting the Nirvana and I feel pretty comfortable with it, so that's what I'm using. Let's just take a Titan. We'll see what we can do with a Titan. We'll try out some different balls and see what we can get, like what kind of distance we can get out there. Crane Classic. Practice, practice, practice. Now, if you see somebody doing what I'm about to do, when you're practicing and you're up there where you could make a putt, don't make the putt. This is why it's so important to record your own video. Record what they're doing. You know, you're recording what they're doing, and you can see, like, you can go back and watch it and go, hey, they pulled out these balls. This is where their red line was at. They looked at that shot. Like, is that a possibility? There is an island. Like, if you get past the S's, that first fairway that's dead center in the middle, I don't think we can make it to that. I think we were just trying to rough it out there, but I can't remember. I can't remember. Maybe we were. That's why we're playing it, because I can't remember. I don't have enough time and grade on this hole, so let's see. Maybe we can. Oh yeah, we can. So I think I was actually trying to hit it on that side. Trying to bleed it out through there. Yeah. Bring out a bigger ball, you could easily make it over there. Hell, if you brought out a bigger ball, you could probably hit that fairway and run all the way to the end. That's a topspin boost ball. Yeah, you could run all the way to the end of that. And be way the hell down there in short iron lane. Yeah. I don't think I won't lose the ball because I didn't take the shot, but that's definitely a possibility right there. If you got tailwind, yeah, that puts you way down there. What's my opponent got? Power 5, topspin boost 3, so they're going to do the shot that we were just looking at. So they're willing to waste the ball. Let's see if they make it. Let's see how far down they get there. Hit perfect. Hit perfect. There you go. Perfect. Let's see how far down they get there. This is fantastic. This is a good practice right here. Excellent. Yeah, and if you had a How short are they? What kind of distance do they have to the cup? That's probably yeah, that's short iron. Maybe towards max short iron. See if I can get out there where I'd be with a just a regular ball. If I can get out there. 2.5. There's 3. Let's put the forward distance back on. See if I can make it over. I'll rough bump it. Just see what kind of distance we got out from there, because that's got to be long iron from over there. With a tailwind, you could probably do that with a power 4 ball on topspin boost. As far out as they were, I think if we had a due headwind, you might have issues on that day. It's definitely short. Now let's see if they see where they're at in their club. Come on, dude. Let's see where you're at in your club. No, you're just going to play it. Not enough topspin with the claw. So from that area, if you brought a short iron that had a lot of topspin, like I usually play with a Hornet would probably get it done. You might have to bring out a runner. But there could be a rough bump right there. That's fantastico. Fantastico. From where I'm at, you probably need a Goliath to do that same rough bump. So with a Grizzly, max topspin, yeah, you'd need a Goliath. A Goliath or a Saturn. Saturn's got a lot of topspin. What kind of distance do I have? There's max. There's min. If you brought a Goliath, you'd be at minimum club right here with the power 3 ball. I'm at mid club. I'd actually rather do the rough bump because I don't like having to play it with this much tops or backspin. It's a mid club. 2.6. I'm just going to do 2.6. We'll see how far off I am. Hitting it perfect. Can't believe I got that off in time. Woo! In the hole. I think my Grizzly it's 0.9 at min, or at maximum. I think it's 0.9. I did it 1 per ring, so I'd have to go look at my cheat sheet. I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me to see what my clubs are, but I did a 1 per ring. I just did the win 2.6, 1 to 1, whatever that works out. Let's check. Let's look. Let's look. That was a. Let's see what that would have been. That's short iron. No, excuse me. My bad. That's long iron. And then the fucking screen will reset. Saturn, as far as topspin, if you got it upper developed, that might have been enough. Maybe. Grizzly's got 50. I'm not sure if the 66 on the Saturn would have been enough. It would have been better, obviously. So wind chart, level 9, mid club, power 3 ball, 1 per ring. So 1 to 1. Didn't add anything on. I thought it was 1 to 1, but not sure. Yeah, it's 0.9, 1.1, 1.3. Okay. All right, so there's how to play that hole. That's actually pretty awesome that we can get down into that zone. So getting down into my opponent, obviously with the topspin boost ball, was able to get down here, and I would definitely want to bring out whatever club you need to do the rough bump. So if it was a short iron, I'm pretty sure. Let's look at. Hey, quit dicking around with the. Google here last 6 months, 8 months ago changed their security stuff in some apps. Like this D recorder in my pen, it doesn't like having to work with them. It doesn't like working with the grid either. I should turn my grid on just in case I'm playing. I'll turn it on if I play again. let's see, what were we looking for here? Short iron. Bring a Hornet. It's got 80 topspin. You'd definitely be able to do that with 80 topspin if you were up where my opponent was. The 42 on that Kingfisher is not going to be enough. But the 80 on that Hornet would definitely work. If you use a Thorn normally, I don't think 60 is enough. And that's only if it's maxed out. So I think it's got quite a bit less if it's not maxed out. So probably a Hornet. You could use a Claw. But I think a Hornet would work fine. And if you've got lower developed stuff, you may need to use a Runner. I mean, the reason it's called a Runner is because it has topspin. And it's got distance, which is a good thing. All right, hole number 4. Hole number 4. Let's look at hole number 4. What is hole number 4? Nahamie Cliffs. I know these holes. All right, the dreaded island hole. This is the island par 3. There's another hole on there that's also the island par 5, but this is the island par 3. And I will tell you, this hole has always been hard or difficult, but now it's even more difficult because here's the deal. No picture's going to show it right. But there is a little finger that runs out like this, and that finger looks like this. You're on flat, and then it rolls over the thing, and then it comes up, and then here's the crotch, and it comes over, and here's the crotch, and it comes over, and here's the flagpole in the middle. So no matter where you hit the ball, no matter where you hit it, unless it's absolutely on track to the cup, it's going to roll off. So if you're a little bit shorter, you get your speed wrong, and you're on this side, it's going to roll off to the right, and if you're on this side, it's going to roll off to the left. It seems like in the past we've always done a plus 10%, but the last time we came here, because you're not really at max club when you're down here, I think the last time we played this, the very last time we played it, I got a hole-in-one on it, and I bagged all of my stuff, and I just did like a 1-to-1 and just went at it and got a hole-in-one. But this hole is very difficult to get a hole-in-one, and from Ricky, it's not that bad. But from the Pro Tees and in Expert and in Masters, it can be a difficult hole because you're definitely playing it with your driver, and you have to get the adjustment right, and it can be very, very difficult. What's Tommy say for? Why does he have 2 different shots on here? Let's do Rookie. Let's do Pro. Let's do Expert or Masters. And the numbers all stay the same as far as elevations. But I would start at like a 10% in here, and I don't think you need to bring any kind of a big ball. Bounce number 1 on this side, getting it over. But from Masters and Expert, this with wind, especially when you get a headwind, this can be a very difficult hole. This chasm lays your ball down big time. We'll see how this hole goes. Just the approach to the green is really tough on this. They changed it because it used to not be like that. It was where it was all flat and the cup was almost in a bowl. So if you were on trajectory, you could make it was. I'm not going to say it was easy to make a hole-in-one, but it was easier. It wasn't easy. It's never been easy, but it was easier. But now it's so difficult because it's on the top of that mound. It sucks. It blows. It's Oklahoma. Okay, hole number 5. Hole number 5. This is the Island Par 5. So my buddy Richard, got to give a shout out to Richard today. He came out here today and with a Power 4 topspin boost ball, no overpower, was able to get a Condor. He got his first Condor today. That's the only thing missing from my repertoire is I've never gotten a Condor. And of all the Par 5s that are out there, if you're going to get a Condor, this is the one. I hope that they never change this hole because we need some holes in the game like this. I do like it when they have tougher holes, but we do need to have some holes like this where we can really come out and have some fun on them. Now, if you've got brand new clubs, it is difficult as hell to get on this island because you have no distance. You'd have to bring out a big ball just to get on this island, and then you probably don't have enough topspin to get over to the other side. But hitting down here is a shit thing, especially if you have new clubs. You think, well, I'll just hit down here. When I first started the game, the very first Albie I ever got was on this hole, and I got it off of the island because what happened was, what in the fuck? It's pissing me off. It is. Okay, Google. Make me work for it. Make me work for it. You can hit off of this rough and then just bleed up onto the island, or you can try and get over here and then stop it up on the island. And when you first start, you got really low level clubs. But we're not going to do that in a tournament. In the tournament, you need to hit off this island and you need to get over. You have got to get, if there is ever a hole that you have to get an Albie on in order to keep up with the Joneses, this is it. This hole has been in community cups, and if you didn't get an Albie, you basically dropped the shot on your opponents. You have to get an Albie. Now, when I look at this island, I see a lot of people who play this when they're looking at the island, and what I liked about my teammate today is he used the Power 4 ball with topspin boost and was able to go from here with the topspin boost with no overpower and get on. And he hit a one ring great to the right and made it in. He told me the reason that I haven't got a Condor here is because I haven't hit a one ring great to the right. I have. Here's the cup. I've ended up right here, like less than the ball width away a couple times, and I've swirled the cup on several occasions, but I have not been able to get it to go in the hole. I always like to use this window right here. I see a lot of my opponents wanting to hit off of this, and they're really pinching themselves up in this area. You got to watch what ball you're using, because, and you got to, if we have a tailwind and you're in this area and you're pulling the ball back and you're using this line, why aren't you moving it over here where you can get deeper? So if we draw a line from the tee box to this area, our ball is going off in this, and we've got to cover this angle. Even an extra mile can cover that angle. If you're using an APOC, you could get out here into the deepest part of it and be able to cover the angle to get back to the cup. You want to ride along in order to get to the flagpole. If you're actually trying to get a Condor, you want to ride along this edge over here, and you want to come in at the top and let it roll down to the cup. This green is sloped like this, and the flagpole's in the middle. And so if you can come out it high on the top, it'll roll down to the cup. If you come in it straight, it can still go towards the cup, but as it's getting closer to the cup, it's going to start drifting off to the, unless it's going 1,000 miles an hour. As soon as it hits the green, it's going to start drifting off to the left. I will tell you this too about this green. I have hit the ball down into this area where I was doing the curl and getting it to stop right here. And if you're off on the fringe here, it's a pretty easy shot. But if you're on the green, I dribbled onto the green one day, just barely onto the green, and you can't make the putt. You can't even reach the putt because it's uphill from that spot. And not only is the distance, this is an old hole, and on these old holes there were spots where we could not reach the cup. And not only can you not get to the cup because of the distance, you can't get there because it's uphill, and you just can't get it there. Your putter just won't, like, you could take that putter and you could drive that ball about 200 yards, but you can't make a putt that's that long. That's just how it works. I like this hole. We need to get an Albie on this hole. So what I like to do is come out into this zone right here, and I actually think that a 4-power ball is the best way to go on this. And I like the topspin boost. I don't know that I've played this hole since we've gotten the topspin boost balls. So you may be able to come out here with a 5-power ball with no power, or a 4-power ball with no power, and use, I think he was at his red line. So if we had a headwind day, you might have to put on a little bit of power. But if you brought out a 5-power ball, this is one of those things like I was talking about earlier, where if you brought out a 5-power ball and your red line was here, you could pull back like 4 rings and then put your topspin boost on, and then on a day when there was headwind, it would give you, if you were using an extra mile, that would give you 8 miles an hour of wind that you could adjust out. But I always use this end because we can get deeper, and then I try and curl it back around to the cup as opposed to using this side. I see a lot of people fail, and I'm always, because if you're here, if you think about distance wise, when you get over to the other side and you're coming up here, if you can get more distance on your first bounce, then you're going to go farther on your second bounce. And so try and use the right hand tip. We got to get an Albie on that hole though. This is going to be a wild ass scoring tournament with these holes. All right. It seems to me... Can we get on and one on this? I think we could get on and one on this. Is this a par 4? This is one, and once again, one of those holes. I think we can get on and one. Let's go play this one because I can't remember it. I can't remember exactly what the deal is down in here. I know that if you get behind this tree, it seems like if you're out in this distance and you're behind the tree, it's difficult. You'll have to hook it around, and you either need to get all the way out of the end so that you're past the tree, but I thought that there was a way that we could get around this tree, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It'll restart. The restart. All right, let's check it out. Practice. What hole was that? Was that hole number 6, I think? Maybe? Maybe. I can't practice too many of them because I don't have anything going to... Alright, let's practice. I can only practice one more. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put something on that gives me practice tokens. Oh yeah, we can do the thing where you can watch the 30-second video. The 30-second, 30-minute, 30-hour video. It might be 30 seconds long, but it feels like it's 30 minutes long. If I can get a replay. Come on. I juking. Let's see what it is. Let's see. What can we do here? Can we get on a one? Oh, we can get on a one. This is where we get into this area right here. We can get on a one. Yes, sir. Okay. Now it's all becoming clear. Now that I'm actually out here on the course, there is a spot out here you can get to. And we can just go for it. I think this is another one of those ones where you want to bring out a big ball so that you can get up into this zone so that you can put on backspin. So if we were in that zone, like with a probably don't need a 5-power ball, but we can pull out a 5-power ball just to check it out. So if you're in this zone right here, see how much room I got on my red line. You can pull back just a little, and then you can put on backspin and you can stick it right to the cup. Another great hole opportunity where we can try and go for hole-in-one. This is another hole that we're going to have to get an eagle on. Otherwise, we've just dropped a shot to our opponent. Now it's all becoming clear. Now, you can come out here and do overpower, but what happens on the day? You can see where their red line's at. Their red line's right at the transitional line. And they're going to use the wind. So what happens on the day when we have headwind? So you'll have to switch balls and you have to change your shot up. So I know, like, there'll be some days that it's like, hey, I didn't need to use a power 4 or a power 5 ball today and I could have got over. But we do have a great opportunity. We have to remember that the goal here is eagle. But this is a hole, just like the par 5 we just got done looking at, where we do have an opportunity for a hole-in-one. And we got to, there's going to be people in our bracket that are going to get it. So we want to be able to at least give ourselves a shot to keep up with the Joneses. I'm going to put on one backspin and see how far. And I'm going to put on 1.5 because I'm going to put on a little bit of curl. 4.5, and I'm just going to do a straight up adjustment. I'm not going to add anything on. There's max curl. I'm going to do half curl. And I hit it one ring great to the right. And let's see how far. Ooh, yeah, the wind definitely. We definitely need to take off. Definitely need to take off. Add on, excuse me. So I did 4.5. It's 1.5 per ring. It was a 4.5 wind. Probably should have did at least the 10%. You can see how close I was in the front. And it pushed me way forward. Way forward. Shit, it probably pushed me like I'll have to go back and watch the video on that. But if you look at the rings there and freeze it where the ball bounced, and then go back and look to see how much separation I had from that to begin with, it probably pushed me forward. Damn near, it almost was like double wind. But you can get up there if you're doing that with just a little bit of with just a little bit of spin. But the whole thing is that yes, can you get over there by bringing out that and doing that and doing an overpower? Yes, absolutely. But we've got to play this hole 5 times. We're going to have 5 different types of wind. And if you set it up out here and your red line is there with a power 5 ball and you pull it back and you're in that zone and you give yourself 4 rings of separation from the red line and you put on what spin you need to put on, and then the next time the wind's blowing this way, and the next time the wind's blowing this way, and the next time the wind's blowing this way, you can set the ball up exactly the same every time and just make adjustments for the wind. You may have to make a bigger adjustment when it's headwind. You may have to make a bigger adjustment when it's tailwind. When it's side wind, you may be able to do a 10 or 15% and do more when it's head and tail. But all you're adjusting for is the wind. The setup is going to be the same. You should have a very consistent result on the other side, because we have got to get an eagle on this hole. I mean, we have to. I mean, think about it. There's going to be way too many people out there that are going to get an eagle in a bracket on this hole. Way too many. Hole number 7. It always seems like there should be a rough bump on this hole. And I wonder if there isn't. I think there is a rough bump on this hole if you bring a Goliath. Is this one of the Young scenes? Yes. I think there is a rough bump if you do a Goliath. I think you have to bring a Goliath and you can do a rough bump on this. It seems like I wasn't doing, that's 15% what Tommy's got. I think it was in that range. It was like a 10 or 15%. But you had to have a Goliath in order to do the rough bump from here because of the distance. Well, we definitely have, this is another really good par 3. If this is the one I'm thinking of, that rough bump is money. Like once you get your adjustment worked out and fine-tuned, there is definitely good things that can happen on that rough bump. But you have to have a Goliath. Have to. Hole number 8. All right. So I've been playing, okay, there is so many ways, and we've got these topspin boost balls and we have stuff. I see a lot of people trying to go for the green, and I've seen a couple people get right here off of it where they were able to get out of the sand and get on the green side. It's possible. You can lay it up out here and then go for it. The last few times we play, okay, here's what most people are going to do. You can lay it up out here, but most people are going to go for this island. And this is another one of those things where we've got a head. I think you can barely make this island when there's, if we just took wind out of it and you had a 3 power ball, I think you can barely make this island. But if we have a headwind day, then you're definitely having to overdrive. You're having to put overpower on, or you need to bring out a bigger ball. And most people are going to hit off of this and just try and bleed it right out here into the front and take this chip, which is like a mid, maybe max wedge. You'll see some people come here where they're trying to bounce off the island, try and get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then bleed off of this and either, hold on. They're coming after me. They're like, he was talking about stealing the hole. Trying to get over here, but I have seen a couple of people do it, but I've seen more people epic fail in the sand. And this is a really good opportunity if you can get out here and just lay it up. The last few times we played this hole, I've played a shot that I've tried to encourage people to do, because you can do it with your big topper. And you don't have to have a big level big topper, and you can do it with a power 3 ball, and a Kingmaker works better, but you can do it with a Titan. And what you do is, let's get the angles right here. So from the rookie tee, think of this area right here, and I'm at least 2 rings off. And so we're coming out like this, and we're trying to cover this distance. And so I'm in this zone right here, a couple rings of separation from the transitional surface, facing off into this direction, and I'm trying to cover this swing. And what I want is I want bounce number 1, I want bounce number 2 in the rough, and I'm going to do a rough bump, and it bleeds me right out into this area. And you can do this right here with, I think you can actually do it with a katana, because you're not trying to get out into this, and it doesn't. But if you bring out a Kingmaker, it doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. It doesn't matter if the wind's blowing headwind, tailwind, side wind. It doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. You can do this shot. If you have the ball inventory that you can bring out to get on this island every time and try and get in the same spot where you don't have to do any overpower, you're in the catbird seat. If you have a topspin boost ball and you're on this island, you might be able to, especially a topspin. You can't, here's the thing, we don't have side spin assist. We just have side spin. So you have a ball that's got topspin boost and you put all the topspin on there, and you really like the ball to come this direction, but you can't get any side spin on because you got all the topspin on, so you got to use curl. But if you have a topspin boost ball, you might be able to get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then stretch it out so that if you put the curl on there to make the bend, you could clip on the other side and just roll off on the green. It's possible because of the ball inventories that we have now. But most people are going to just try and shoot right for here and then take the short chip that's on. And you can do that by hitting off the island, or you can hit back here and try and rough bump it out into that zone. I like this shot right here because you don't have to bring out a big ball, and it's pretty consistent. It doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. But it is a little more technical because you got to give yourself enough separation out here. You come out here and take this shot 1 or 2 times, and you'll know, like, if I want to do a max curl shot, typically, like with my APOC, I like to be 4 to 5 rings off of a surface, and I know that I can cover that swing. So if you're doing a blind curl shot like this, you need to practice it with your clubs, because your clubs are going to be different than mine. We got a great opportunity there, but of the par 4s, this one, more than likely, depending on whether or not the topspin boost balls can get us over there, we'll probably have to hit one from distance. But it should be a wedge or a minimum short iron. All right, this is another hole that has changed because of the ball inventory, and there's a shit ton of ways that you can play it. You can bounce off from down here, and you got to remember that from the tee box to this spot, tee box down to that spot, and then up to the other side. And I actually lost a tournament on this hole. All I had to do was come out here and get an eagle, and I would have won the tournament, and I ended up hitting this rough and got caught in the rough right here. I got too far down into this zone because you're way the hell downhill, so you've got to make I think I was doing like a 20% adjustment on the drive, but it really depends on where you're hitting the drive. What's Tommy got? A 10%. But if you've got a tailwind, it's really going to blow you down into this zone, and because the farther you hit on that downhill, I hit on the downhill, and then my next bounce, instead of taking a bounce, it hit and went flat and went straight across the chasm and hit the cliff, and then bounced up and got caught in the rough and ended up getting a birdie instead of an eagle and lost a tournament because of it. So this area can be dangerous. The last few times we played it, I've actually come out here with an APOC, and I think I was using, I can't remember if I was using a Power 5 ball or just doing it with a Kingmaker, but coming out into this zone and giving myself separation on this so that I'm going out into this area here and then hitting the hook and trying to get bounce number 1, bounce number 2. Where I was having difficulty was trying to miss this sand. Sometimes I missed the sand and I was on the inside, and sometimes I got the bounces right and I actually bounced over the sand. But I was trying to just stick right here in front of the sand, and then it gave me a nice straight up shot to get in. You can also come from here and try and bring it over to this side, and then your shot to the cup, you can use this island. I never really liked that shot, but my buddy Dunner loves that shot. And you can come from here and bounce number 1. I think bounce number 2 might actually be a rough bump. What were we doing the last time we were here? The area I was trying to get to, I was trying to do a rough bump, and I actually started making some albies on this because I was doing a rough bump off this bottom edge down here, and it was trying to get the ball down into this zone right here and give me the angle so that I could do a rough bump straight at the cup. And it was a really nice rough bump where you can do it. There's a lot of different ways that you can play this hole. I've also played a max overpower hook shot on this hole, where you're getting your bounce out here and then you're coming along and you're trying to go straight up. And the closest I've ever gotten on this hole was up in this area, but ball inventory with spin boost and or side spin, like we may not use the top spin, we may use the side spin to get us around corners better so that we can start out farther and then, you know, get bounce number 1, bounce number 2. We'll have to see how this hole goes. This is a dangerous asshole, but we have a lot of opportunities. And it's dangerous because there's all of this shit is OB. Out of bounds. And if you get caught up down in here, you can't recover. If you get caught in the sand, though, you can if you got a Spitfire. If you get caught in this sand, you can recover off the island with a Spitfire. But you do not want to get caught up over here at all. Any other place you get caught up, you should be able to recover. But I do know that the last time we played it, I was trying to put myself the position. I think I was just trying to put myself right here, and then I was doing a rough bump off that. If there's a spot there, this rough right in here is curled and it comes up to the green, but as it comes around the bend over here, it flattens out. And there's an area in here that's flatter, and so you're not having to deal with this hump. You're dealing with a flatter surface, and so the rough bump is truer. We'll have to play this hole so that we can see what the deal is. Tomorrow when we get out here, I'll take a look at it, but we have a lot of different ways that we can play this hole. I'm gonna play where I'm coming down here with my APOC, and I don't know that it was probably a max OP shot. But that might be just the difference between bringing out a bigger power ball. I really just like to do a max curl shot without using any overpower. Those are the best shots to set up, because then they're a lot more consistent. Because when you got to, and especially on a hole like this, if you got to start using overpower to get over to the other side, you've got so much different areas that you can get into trouble in. I'll have to see what the deal is on it, but I'm going to be coming down here trying to get over into this zone, and I'm 100% sure I'm going to do that rough bump. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's review these, so minimum score is always 12. Let's see what we got. Okay, we got to get that. That puts us at 13. We got a great opportunity there, but that's not a gimme. We have a great opportunity here for an Albie. Great opportunity. Great opportunity for an Albie on that hole. That's a pretty tough par 3 as far as I'm concerned. We have to get an eagle here, but this is almost a 50-50 hole. You need to get an Albie on this. You need to get an Albie on this at least once in the round, if not both times. Really, you kind of need to get it both times, but you got to get it at least once. So, I mean, we're at 13.5, whether you like that or not. There's another one we got to get an eagle on. There's 14.5. That's a great par 3 right there. I think that rough bump is money. And this is the toughest of the par 4s. I mean, we want to get an eagle on this, but this isn't necessarily a gimme. But we'll have to see how the ball inventory has changed, how we play that hole. There may be a way to get up there where it makes it easier, but it's still not. We're still at 14.5. Still at 14.5. But we have shit. Every hole here, I think, is great, except for the island par 3. I'm not a really big fan of that one. But 14.5 is our minimum score. 14.5. So that puts us at 29 as the minimum. And then think of all the holes there that you could pick up a shot on. This is going to be a wild-ass tournament. This is going to be one of those 32, 34 tournaments. I think that people are going to go batshit crazy during this tournament, because I see a lot of holes there where we can pick up shots. A lot of holes. Lots. I mean, if we just pick up the Albie on that one hole both times, that puts us at 30. So, and then we're working from there. So that takes, you know, that's huge. That's 3 of the 9, and you could take one of them out. So there's 6, there's 5. That means there's 5 other holes that we could get shots on. And so if you just picked up one on each one of those 5s, we're looking at 35s. This is going to be one of those Community Cup type weeks where people are just going to shoot magnificently low scores. it'll be a crazy week where if you don't make everything, you're behind. Crazy week. All right, there you have it. That was a, well, that wasn't necessarily a quick walkthrough. That was 50 minutes. That was a scouting report for it, and I practiced a couple of the holes. I'll play a qualifying round tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great week, and I will catch you on the next one. Dunner reminded me I got to tell. So I never tell people, hit subscribe, hit like. It really does help in the algorithm if you hit like, hit subscribe. I don't promote the channel at all. So if you've got people in your clan that are newer, or people that are like, if you've got people in your clan that are always in the 50s in tournaments, or 50 below, and they're playing in rookie tournaments, or they just never do good in tournaments. Hey, the whole thing is that we want to get people to score better in tournaments so you have more fun. So if you got people that you can promote it on your Facebook page, and you can promote it in your stuff, and I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Trying to promote the channel. Wow, I never do that. Thank you. Have a great day.